one of my videos that I did, well, I did a live back in February about my shocking experience around immigration in Jamaica. I was in the US. I came back to Jamaica and I was on the verge of being deported. And so I did a live of that, had a Jew segment and I did a live, and it went viral for my little tiny channel. And then I edited the live and made it into a replay long form back in March, a couple of weeks later, and it got over 5,000 views. It went viral as well. The live got about 2,500 views. I was like, oh my gosh. And people seem to be really interested in my story around immigration and my shocking immigration story of what happened. And so I decided to spend a bit more time on that story, walking you through in a bit more detail the process around my immigration story and how I actually, got citizenship, what I did wrong that led me to nearly being deported, and what I learned from this. Okay, because no one didn't really tell me the mechanics of, okay, Natalie, you can get your citizenship through descent. This is what you need to do. And this is what you need to not do and what you must avoid. Because if you do this, you're likely to get deported. And don't be leaving the country without doing this. And these are the things that I wish somebody had told me. So I'm just going to walk you through my story. Give me a second. Just got a notification that my battery is going to die on my laptop. All right. Oh, sorry, it's not plugged in. Okay, that's better. All right, so if you're applying for citizenship by descent, this story is for you. It's the mistakes that I want you to avoid. I'm going to tell you the mistakes that I did and what led me to nearly being deported back to the UK after living in Jamaica for like 4 months. Okay, right. So I decided to move to Jamaica 6 weeks before my date to fly out to Jamaica. Okay. And because I, decided to move to Jamaica, it meant that I need to sort out my citizenship and what are the options. So the option that I chose was citizenship through descent. And if you can, especially if you're in another country, well, I wouldn't say if you can. If you can, I'd recommend you start the process before you move to Jamaica. It's really easy. So I chose citizenship through descent through my parents. And I went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Jamaica High Commission in London. And I submitted the documents. The documents were my mum and my dad's birth certificates, and that's to prove that they're Jamaican, and then their marriage certificate to prove that they were married to each other, and then my birth certificate that has my mum and my dad to prove that I was their daughter, right? And then I paid £90. Now, I did that on 6th of July, 2012. And this is the receipt that I got back from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Jamaica High Commission in London. So this is kind of like my evidence that I've done this. And I had paid for an emergency certificate and certificate of citizenship. And that was because I'd planned to move out there. All right. Now, my flight to Jamaica, I think it was the July 12th or July 16th, I was moving to Jamaica. I was flying to Jamaica and hence moving to Jamaica. Right. So obviously I entered on this passport, my British passport, and I was stamped for 90 days. And it meant that I could be here for 90 days, but I wasn't allowed to work or claim any benefits. Not that you can claim any benefits, but I wasn't allowed to work. So I entered on this passport. And then, and this is my birth certificate, which shows my mum and my dad. All right. And then after that, so after you submit all those after you submit of the documentations, and I got the receipt, I was like, yeah, I'm good to go. Let me fly out there. I can fly out on my British passport, and I have 90 days to get everything sorted. So I have a question for you. My question to you is in the chat, have you been in a situation like me, where you don't have to have been moving to Jamaica, but you could have been applying for citizenship through your parents, or just applying through citizenship? Did you do that in the country that you were living in at the time, or did you go to the country and then do all the process? I'd love to hear your experiences, because everyone's experience is different. My experience was I started the process in the UK and finished it off in Jamaica. So on July 27th, 2012. So that's the process of me submitting my receipt, submitting my documentation and getting proof of receipt that's now in the process. It took about 3 weeks to get feedback from PICA. Now, I got a letter from PICA, and the letter had said, I'm pleased to inform you that your application, which you submitted to get Jamaican citizenship through descent, which is my parents, has been approved. I was like, yeah, woo! So yeah, I was very excited about that. I suppose I was excited because this is Jamaica, right? And I don't know what the process could be, in the sense of, is it going to run smoothly? Is there a word that I'm missing, a letter that I'm missing out of the application? I've never done this before. And also I was doing it very quickly, even though I'd planned it intentionally. Yeah, I'm still like expecting something to go wrong. So this is what they gave me. And it's the letter of certification. Now, the letter of certification is the document that you need to be able now to get your passport, your Jamaican passport, which is this. So I have my Jamaican passport. Where's my other passport? Which right there? Okay. And I have my British passport. So that shows that I'm now dual citizen. I'm now a dual citizen. But let's just back it up, right? Because I need to tell you now I'd say what I should have done differently. But before I tell you what I should have done differently, when I got my letter of certification, which is this is a letter that I need to take to PICA. This is from PICA, by the way, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, which is on 25 Constant Spring Road, Kingston 10, in Halfway Tree, in Kingston. You've got your 90 days in the country anyway, right? And then by me getting that, I can now start the passport process. And essentially, within that 90 days, you will get your passport back. It's just how quick you want to get it done, because obviously the quicker you do your passport, the quicker it is for you to now be able to work, all right, and get all other documentation and all types of other things that can move forward in doing things. Okay, your letter of citizenship won't just do that. Okay, you can't just bring it to the bank or bring it as a form of ID. It's the form that allows you to get your ID, which is your passport ID. So yeah, I'm just thinking back to everything. So it felt good, right? When I got the letter of certification, I was like, yeah. I felt like, yeah, man, I'm now legally allowed to live and work here and build a life here. And I felt good. I felt proud. I felt happy. I felt like things were aligned. Yeah, I was very, very excited about the next stage in my life back in 2012. Now I'm going to tell you the mistakes that I made that led me to the situation where they wanted to deport me back to the UK. So I worked for a company called Vistaprint back in 2012, and they were sending me to the US so that I could do an induction and onboarding as part of the role, and working for Vistaprint in Jamaica, which now called Simpras. So I was like, cool. But I hadn't done my passport yet. In my mind, I was thinking, do I need to do it yet? Because the letter had said, please be advised that this is an important document which enables you to be the holder for a Jamaican passport and should therefore be kept in a safe place. But I'd already started working. I had my TRN, I had my bank account. Now, even though I'd said like the passport will get you those things, it was more actually the passport will allow you to come back into Jamaica without you being stamped. That's really what it is. And so because I was working and getting paid and I was renting, I just thought to myself, I don't need my passport yet. Let me just leave it for the moment because everything is up and running. And so when they were said that, Vistaprint said they're going to send me to the US, I was like, okay, let me just call Picker to find out. And Picker had said to me, I wanted to call Picker because I didn't have my passport yet. And Picker had said, yeah, that's fine. You can still travel on your letter of certification, which is wrong. At the time, I didn't know it, but that was the biggest mistake, where I had listened to that. Maybe I didn't explain it correctly, but I was under the impression that I could travel on my passport and just bring my details. I could bring my letter of certification. I could bring the receipt. I had printed out proof of where I lived. I, JPS kind of bills, NHT, not NHG, NWC bills that I pay, make my flow bills that I pay. I had my my landlord application form and the lease that I had, just the evidence. I had my job offer letter from Vistaprint. I thought that'd be enough because I hadn't got the passport yet. Little did I know that July, August, September, October, it would have been 3 months since I've been in Jamaica. And it was November that I was going to the US, which means I've passed the 90 days. And as I was leaving Jamaica, it also meant that I'd overstayed because I didn't have my passport. All right. Now, if I had my passport, my Jamaican passport, I wouldn't have overstayed. And that was the biggest mistake. I should have got my passport straight away. So I'm telling you all, like, if you don't know this, and there are people in the comments that had said, oh no, Natalie, you're supposed to get your passport. As soon as you get your citizenship, get your passport, because you can't leave if you stayed longer than 3 months and you leave and you don't have your passport, not only can't you get in the country, but they can deport you because you've overstayed. So I was like, Jesus. Yeah. So those are the things that I learned. And so even though, I'm coming back into the country and I'm, carrying this and all my documents that I printed, as far as Jamaica is concerned and the government, you have overstayed by over a month and they have every single right to deport you, even if I had all those documents, because what they want to see is this. All right. So I went through all of this with them. I just thank God, whoever was there, that allowed me to get in the country, because they didn't have to. They could have sent me back home, and they have the right to send me back home. And then I just apply for my passport back in the UK and then I can fly back. So they didn't do that. And I really am grateful. Shout out to whoever spoke to me 13 years ago and let me back in the country. And as soon as I got back into the country, yeah, man, I dealt with everything ASAP as soon as I got back in the country. So what was this for me in regards to what I learned? Well, I learned that follow instructions, okay? Because the letter had said to me that I got from Picker with my citizenship was that this document enables you to get your passport. Now, regardless of if I'm traveling anywhere, I should have got the passport, because I should have remembered that I only got stamped 90 days. So even if I decided not to travel anywhere, for example, what if I got stopped by the police? Or what if they needed my documentation for something, and I'm like, oh, here's my British passport, and they're like, oh, you overstayed. Like, so I should have just got it straight away, but I just didn't think about that. I also thought to myself, well, I'm working, I've got a job, I'm getting paid, I live somewhere, I'm paying rent, I've got my own bank, I've got my TRN, I've got my NIA, I'm legal. Yeah, you're legal here, but you're not legal if you try and get back in the country. So now, and I understand now why there are people that have overstayed in countries, and it's like they don't want to leave, because if they leave, they get flagged and they won't be able to come back in. So I get that now. I do get that. So those are some of the things that I learned. Yeah, I was just thinking back. I was very silly. I was 32. I was naive. I was excited. I didn't have people around me coaching me and mentoring me and giving me advice and stuff. So I'm just processing that. Yeah. So what my advice to you all, so that you don't get in my situation where immigration is telling you that you've overstayed and they're sending you back to England, to the UK. When you get your letter of certification, just do the process straight away. Don't even call Picker to find out advice. And nowadays you can find research and advice online. You've got AI that can help you with that information. What's great about this, citizenship by descent, I was able to do it quite fast, actually. From July 2nd, when I submitted my documentation in England, to the July 27th, I'd been there about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then got the letter of certification to say that you've been approved. There's evidence that you are a descendant of a Jamaican and you've got your citizenship. I should have got my passport, and your passport takes a few weeks. So what's great is, don't worry about, but I'm only here for 90 days. Will it come back in 90 days? It absolutely will come back in 90 days. The system is designed for it to come back in 90 days. If I'd done the process like I should have, I could have got my Jamaican passport probably by the end of August. So that's one thing that I think to myself, yeah, big up yourself, Jamaica. Like, I thought the process would take weeks and months, and maybe for some people it does, but it really didn't for me. And yeah, now I have my 2 passports, and I am officially a dual citizen of the UK. Shame. Of the UK and of Jamaica. So when I travel and I'm coming back to Jamaica, I travel on this passport. Because if I travel on this passport, shout out, can you write in the comments what will happen if I travel on this passport back into Jamaica? What do you think they're going to do? Right? And I'll tell you the answer in a bit. And then because this passport is a little bit stronger than this passport, you need a US visa to travel to the US if I'm applying in this passport. With this passport, I need to fill in an ESTA. I can't remember what it stands for, electronic something travel authorization form. All right. And it's about $14. And essentially, the landing cards that you complete, that's really what it is, online, that I pay for, and that lasts for 2 years. So I complete that, and I print it out, and I bring it with my passport. And then when I'm at immigration, they look at that. Just because you do that and you get approved, because you can be denied as well, but even if you get approved, the immigration officer can still in the US, not approve you to come in the country. And that hasn't happened to me. So when I travel, leaving Jamaica, I use this passport. And when I travel home, I use this passport. And the reason why I don't use this passport to come back into Jamaica is because if I do, they'll only stamp me for 90 days. Or what they will see is the last stamp back in 2012, which they would say, hold a minute, you overstayed your welcome. So yes, I don't travel. I don't show this at all. And that's my story, folks, on my immigration journey. It's a little bit more grounded. It's less sort of shocking and emotional, or high energy emotion, like compared to my other video. And if you haven't checked that video out, I'm going to put the link in the description below. For that, it was shocking. And I'm so lucky that I let me back in the country. And maybe it was my accent. I wasn't crying. Maybe it's because I was just so shocked. Okay, so before I change wardrobes and before I move to another part of the living room, I'm going to check the chat. And thank you all for being here still. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And there's another thing as well. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. And this playlist is videos that really just give you a guide to relocation, a guide to, you know, just some of the stories, my personal experiences of living in Jamaica. So if you're thinking of relocating to Jamaica, or you've already relocated to Jamaica and you're looking for some tips around what to do in Jamaica, how to do things in Jamaica, where to go and eat, or it could be where to go and visit, you can check out that playlist and the link is in a description below. Like I said, all of these links I will be adding after the live. All right. But if you can't wait until I've added it after the live, you can just go to my main page, not a main page, go to my page, go to my YouTube channel page where you can click subscribe. And that's the main page. And you'll see the playlist there. And you can just click and you'll find videos that you can watch now or you can watch later. So let me go to the chat. Jess says, yes, absolutely the wrong narrative. I went to school and worked in Kingston for many years and didn't have any issues. Exactly. And it's not just because you're a Jamaican, because I'm a Jamaican, but I was born in the UK. I'm a British expat. So I don't have a Jamaican accent, but I'm good to go. Hi, Natalie, it's Melissa, just listening. Oh, blessed love, Melissa. So wonderful to see you here and so glad that you're just listening. I hope that what I'm sharing is inspiring, is insightful, educational as well, I hope. And I hope I'm just bringing the vibes on this live. Green juice last week, Thursday from Tara. Callaloo, big up yourself. Callaloo, that's great for iron. Ginger, well, you know that's got a spicy little kick and is great as an anti-inflammatory toxin. Kale, I've never tried kale before, and I ain't gonna lie, Tara, the reason why I ain't tried kale is because it's too flaming expensive, okay? All right? And pak choy and callaloo is cheaper, right? Spinach as well. Cucumber, girl, that's great for hydration. It makes your skin glow as well. So people are like, why you look so young? I did cucumber. Kiwi, I've never actually tried in juice before, not seen it downtown, and it's probably in the supermarket, but yeah, that's just too expensive for me. So do you know, what are the health benefits for kiwi? Melon bits for sweetness. Glad everybody worked, and Jess has said, glad everything worked out now. Now others can learn from you. Well, I hope they do. So thank you everybody for being here, watching the live, interacting in the chat. I appreciate the love hearts and the emojis that are coming through. This helps my channel stay engaged. This helps my live as well. The more that we interact and type and ask questions, answer questions, you know, YouTube likes that because it signals to YouTube and the algorithm, oh, there's people watching this live. Oh, there's things happening in this live. Let's push it out a little bit more to others. So bless up everybody just for writing in the chat. Have conversations with each other. You know, I want this to be a safe space, a space for community to interact with each other and engage. So bless up to you all. I'm now going to take a little wardrobe break and I'm going to be changing. And then the next thing I'm going to be talking about is something which is a little bit different. I've talked to you about a process, how to do something, how to learn, how to do a process in Jamaica. Very educational, very process driven. This is a bit more about my life right now in Jamaica and much more reflective. I do talk about Jamaica being this amazing place to live, and it absolutely is. And that's the right narrative that I want to always be pushing. But I also want to get the right balance in my life in Jamaica and some of the struggles that I've experienced as well, especially being part of the diaspora, returnee, meaning that I'm not a returning resident, but my family and I am Jamaican, but I was raised in the UK, and I'm returning to a place where my family lived, and was raised here. And just the cultural differences and the nuances around my time here. So as I'm getting changed, if you have any questions around that, please let me know, and I'll answer that when I get back. I'm going to be talking about the struggles in Jamaica living here. I'm going to talk a little bit about, what keeps me here sometimes when it gets a little bit rougher, and sometimes when I'm thinking I want to go back. All right. So I'll see you soon. Peace. Hello. A new top. Yeah, man. It's me. I'm back with a new top. And so what's the reason, Natalie, as to why you're back with a new top? Okay. So there's method to my madness. I'm gonna move for the background can be a little bit different. There's method to my madness. So the last live that I did back in which was a little while ago, I had I was just wearing one top, right? And excuse me while I just fix up myself. Okay, so it's really difficult doing everything the opposite way. So I'm gonna just look at myself and do it that way. Right? And I'm gonna bring my hair down, to make it look a little bit different. Let me put it this way. Oh, I love doing this on the live. So, I'm tired of it always being so scripted and structured, because it's just not needed sometimes. And it feels less authentic as well when I'm trying to make sure that I fit everything in, say everything. But I do want to make sure that, maybe I should put my hair back like this. Ah, I like that. That looks nice. I like it like this. So you can see the length of my locks. Yep, I've been growing my locks for, let me just do it like this, 3 years. Yes, let's do it where I'm away from, my hair's away from my face. Trying to, okay. How'd that look? I noticed that my hair is a little bit longer at the back. I mean, no, on one side of my hair is longer than the other. Yeah, that's the perfection in me. Right, perfectionist in me. Let me just make sure that I spruce up myself. You know what I'm saying in that? Right. Okay, lovely. So I'm back. So why do I keep making wardrobe changes? So the last live that I did was 2 hours, and whilst oh, that's better. That's better. Yeah. Let me just move that back. Bring that forward. Yeah, like that. Yeah. All right. So let's get myself sorted. So the last live that I did, whilst it was, sorry guys, just paranoid. Whilst it was two different segments and two different locations. Like I did my juice segment first in the kitchen, and then I went on to the balcony. I didn't go on the balcony this time because of Hurricane Melissa and the potential of the weather and things like that. But it was two different topics, or at least two different backgrounds, where the juice in the kitchen, making my natural juices, and then coming and sitting with you on the balcony, answering questions from you and telling you a little bit more about my life. I still had the same top on, and I created videos with I edited based on the topics and created videos that I edited into long form videos, which is fine, but it was the same top that I was wearing, and to me I was just like, why does it look like I haven't got no clothes to wear? And I'm just wearing the same top. So I was able to be, and then I made shorts as well. And again, it was like the same red top. So I was able to be strategic around that, where I didn't just post the videos back to back for the long forms, or post back to back shorts with my same top on. I had different shorts that I could weave in there, and I obviously had other long form videos. So I talked to AI, Armani, ChatGPT, just around that, and she was like, just change tops. And I was just like, yeah man, I think even though it's a live and you want to be structured in what you say and how you say it needs to be planned, obviously, but why can't I change my tops in the live? You either want to be on a live or not, right? so this is what I've done. So this is my third top change. This is now a different topic that I'm going to speak in about, and it's a different background, because that was also as well fatigue with I was like, let me just try and do some different backgrounds as well. So here I am. Okay. So I'm going to check the chat, and then I'm going to talk about, I'd say, why I still choose to live in Jamaica, even when it's hard. Okay. And I got my little pen because I've been making notes as well as I was preparing for this live. And whilst it's going to be edited into a long form replay, I'm just going to be authentic. Yeah. I got my notes to help me as I'm talking. You'll see me looking, you'll see me writing. This is how it is. That's the snacks. So let me go to the chat first. Hello, Donna Nelson. Hi, Nat. Didn't know you was doing a live, just joining you. Well, I'm glad you got the notification. I know the notifications take a little while to come through, Donna. Maybe you did get the notification, or maybe you just, I don't know how you found out that I was doing a live, but I know that once I do post that I've gone live on YouTube, there's a notification sent to persons who have the notification switched on. I'm trying my best to do one live a month. I would have loved to have done, every couple of Saturdays, every other Saturday, but with other commitments with my business and work, it's not sustainable. But I really want to aim to see if I can do a live once a month, and it will always be on a Saturday, and it will be about 2 hours long. I'll talk about juices. I'll create a juice as well. That'll be always the first segment. And then I'll move into just spending time with you all. Any questions that you have for me after seeing my videos, my shorts, my posts, drop it in the chat. I'll answer them. And I'll also have a few topics that I want to share with you and talk to you about. It's usually around my personal journey, my transformation, and my life in Jamaica as a British expat. And I'm also going to be doing wardrobe changes now, as well as background changes. So when I'm re-editing the videos to long form, when I'm creating my shorts, y'all, I'm going to feel too fatigued by, isn't that the same color from the 2 hour live? Yeah, now you're going to see 3 different tops. And also the background, I'm going to be doing different backgrounds as well. So this is the background from another part of my living room. So really glad that you're here, Donna. If you can drop in the chat to let us know. Just switched on my tablet. Oh, so shout out to everybody that's here. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this live and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, man, I know a few people who would like to watch this live. They may be moving to Jamaica. It could be a British expat like me living in Jamaica, or just not born and raised in Jamaica but living here now. Feel free to share. Thank you for liking my live. If you haven't liked it already and you do like what's going on, please feel free to like. Whenever you want, drop in the chat, ask me a question, ask others questions, share your insights with the community. And I really appreciate all the emojis that I'm seeing. All of this interacting and engagement helps YouTube's algorithm. We're telling YouTube, hey, this live is interesting. Hey, this live is funny. And so YouTube's like, oh, is it really? Let me just push it out to a few more people that goes beyond my subscriber base, or that goes beyond the normal, I'd say, cold persons that they send it to. They keep pushing it out. So thank you so much for helping my channel grow. It is very much appreciated. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because you'll know when I do go live next. And I try to go live between 12 to 1 o'clock. I just went to check my phone, and because I was sending out some messages to people that I'm going live, and one person messaged me back to say, hey, I'm driving at the moment. I didn't know that I hadn't subscribed. Can you send me the link? I just messaged the person back and said, how can I send you the link when I'm on live right now? Like, seriously? I don't have moderators yet. I don't have a team yet. When I'm sending out I'm just thinking to myself, there are a few people that would want to know that I'm on a live. Let me send them the message. But come on, man. You know, like, y'all got YouTube chat. You all got a YouTube account, right? Just stop the car if you're driving, type in Natalie Smith and you'll find me. Like, seriously? Like, I ain't gonna blast up. Oh, it is hold on a minute. It's Melissa. Didn't I just see a Melissa earlier on that came on here? Didn't I not? Someone said, hello, this is Melissa. I'm talking about Melissa. Nope. It's all in my mind. But yeah, if you're watching or you're watching the replay, I don't have a team yet to be sending you the link. I sent you the message just to say I'm going live. Everything else, ownership, you're going to have to find it out yourself to find the link of where the live is. Okay. All right. So I'm not seeing any questions that you want to ask me. Maybe you're still thinking, or maybe you just like to listen to me tell stories. But if you do have any questions, drop it in the chat and I will take a look. All right, so I'm going to talk to you just for we've got half an hour left, because I do my lives for about 2 hours. So after this topic, I'm going to say adios and say thanks for listening. So this topic is about why I still choose to live in Jamaica even when it's hard. Like I said, I do talk about what's great about Jamaica, why I live in Jamaica. And I want to talk about the things that no one tells you about Jamaica either. Like, some days I do wonder if I made the right choice. Yes, even after 13 years. I don't think about it as often as I did back in the day, but I would be naive if I said that I don't. I do believe that this was the best choice that I ever made, moving to Jamaica. But every time I think about leaving, I'm always reminded of the truth. And something always pulls me back into Jamaica. And I'm going to talk to you about why I choose to live in Jamaica even when it feels hard. And just give me a sign if you're still there and listening, and if you have any questions for me. So excuse me, I got a bit of, it feels like I got cat hair in my face. It might not be. It might just be, might just be imagining it. All right, so far I've talked to you about processes in Jamaica, about my citizenship, a little bit of education, a little bit of sort of reflection and learning about what to do in the process to get citizenship by descent. Now, this is a little bit different. The flow is more around my life in Jamaica, what I learned and what I continue to learn, and why, even though sometimes it is hard in Jamaica, and I might be thinking that maybe is this the right thing to do? There's several things that I want to tell you that always brings me back to that decision of you made the right choice living here, even though you might think it's hard. Now, living in Jamaica, it is amazing here, okay? And it has changed my life, and it is a different way of living. But let's be real, it's not easy. And sometimes when you move to a different country, it's always different when you get there, right? Than what you had expected. And that could be a good and it could be also a bad thing. Now, for me, I'm going to talk to you about a few things, but the first thing for me that sometimes it can be hard, and it was hard, was the fact that whilst my parents are Jamaican, yes, I am Jamaican. My family, my paternal and maternal parents came over to Jamaica in the 40s as part of the Windrush. And I was raised in a dual household, even though I didn't know I was Jamaican. I was raised in a dual household, and coming to Jamaica and living here, the transition was much easier. And I'll give you some examples. Like if I go into a restaurant or Jamaican restaurant, or I go to a Jamaican shop to buy dinner, I'm not looking at it asking them what is ackee and saltfish. I'm not looking at the menu asking them what is rice and peas. Like all those things I knew about. You know, going to the market, I didn't know about all of the produce, but I knew enough because I'd seen garlic, scallion. I'd seen the sweet pepper. I'd seen how mum had seasoned up food. So that transition was easier for me, and moving to Jamaica. But the reality is, I may have been raised in a Jamaican household and parents are Jamaican, but I still have an accent. Moving to Jamaica meant that I was leaving childhood friends. I was leaving friends that I'd made at work or made at university. They weren't coming with me. My majority of my family that I grew up with is in the UK. I might have family on my parents' side in Jamaica living here, but I don't know them or know them well enough. And that piece was really hard because I felt very disconnected for a minute. And especially being part of diaspora, I'm sure you all can relate to that. And if you don't find networks to connect with emotionally as well as friends, if you don't find people that are in the similar situation to you, it can be very hard and very difficult. It was a little bit easier for me because of my personality type. I am an extrovert, naturally outgoing, easy to make conversation with, easy to start a conversation, like to go out, to meet people, to go, when people invite you out. But some people aren't like that. They're naturally introverted. They're more of a homebody. They're more intentional about the friendships that they make. They observe more the situations and environments before they just go rush into it. I'm not like that. It can be very challenging. It can be very difficult. Even though those parts were hard, why do I still choose to be in Jamaica? Now, I'm not going to talk in a lot of detail about it, but there's a video called From Foggy London to Sunny Jamaica, and I'm going to put the link in the description. And it talks about the reasons why I moved to Jamaica. It's a video that went viral as well. Some of the reasons why I moved to Jamaica: I love the food. Okay. And the food in England is not very nice. Now, these might be quite trivial reasons, but these reasons are important to me. I'm personified by the weather. I like it when it's warm. Why am I living in England where 95% of the time it's dark? 9 months out of the year it's freezing cold and dark. you know, living in the UK, I felt that I was just coexisting. I was living for the system. I still am living for the system in Jamaica, but at least it's warm. At least I can jump in my car and go to the beach in like half an hour. I'm on the north coast in an hour's time. At least I'm not saving thousands of pounds to be able to go away to Jamaica for 7 days or 10 days. And I wanted to live here as well because I wanted to understand my culture more. I wanted to understand where my family are from in Jamaica. I wanted to know more about the history of Jamaica. And ultimately, I just didn't feel like I was at home in England, in the UK, like I feel in Jamaica. So that's why I choose to live here. It's the emotional landscape and the decision around something that's much more deeper to me and more compelling than I don't have any friends, or I don't get to speak to anybody as much as I want to, or you know, my friends and family aren't here, because it's the Caribbean, it's Jamaica. Who doesn't want to fly to the Caribbean and Jamaica as soon as they can if they're living in Europe? So my friends and family were coming over regularly anyway. What else I want to talk about? So those are the sort of like reasons why it was hard, because I felt disconnected. But then the reasons why I choose to live here is because I felt more at home here than I ever felt in the UK. There are other reasons why I choose as to why I wanted to stay, regardless of the process that I was going through. And it was to do with the fact that I had slowed down a lot living here compared to living in the UK. Like I said, I was just living for others and doing things really, really fast. And coming to Jamaica, I was still doing that. But because of the environment, everything's much more slower as well. People interact very differently. They're more relational here. It's more emotional here as well. And it was in the first few years of my life of living here, and probably even in Jamaica, in Kingston as well, I did crave the hustle a lot, but the hustle wasn't so important anymore. What was important to me, and the reasons why I stayed here, was because I felt more rooted here. I felt more grounded here. One of the reasons that I wanted to move to Jamaica, as I mentioned, was because my parents are Jamaican, my family are Jamaican. I wanted to connect to Jamaica more culturally. And I have a video called Why I Moved to Jamaica, The Untold Story. And that talks specifically about the cultural connection that I didn't realize that I had while living in the UK. It talks to me not knowing that I was Jamaican. No, I didn't until I was 25, being raised in a Jamaican household. And then when I came to Jamaica, I was like, what the hell? Like, I feel so at home here. And so what makes me stay here is that I do feel culturally connected than living in England. I mentioned about going to Kingston Night Market a few days ago and witnessing the drumming, and where the dancing that was taking place. I was like, I was mesmerized by it. I was connected to it. I was energized by it. I wanted to go up and dance, but I didn't, which is unusual for Natalie. But I didn't, because I didn't want to lose my space of where I was getting ready for Sizzler to come on as well. But I was so proud to see my people dancing, listening to the drumming, and feeling the beat and the vibe. Like, these are the reasons why I want to stay. Cause I don't see that in England. Being able to see people that look like me more on the street, on the television, in news, in government, are the reasons why I wanted to stay. I felt more grounded and rooted as well, especially when I met my now fiance Mala. Being a Rastafarian has made a major impact in my life, and it's just been amazing. And I'm so fortunate to have been exposed to that, because I don't think I would have ever been exposed to eating differently, drinking differently, living differently. And I could have, there's so many things on social media and that you can do online, but when it's someone that you're in love with and that you love, and when you see them daily living that life, and I became more curious about it. And when Mala first came to my, one of the first times he came to my apartment, and he'd been, probably stayed, and he said to me, "Do you have a blender?" I was like, "What do I need a blender for?" It's because he makes juice, natural juices, and I straight away got a blender, and then I started to use it, and now I don't drink anything apart from natural juices, and just that, and the food that I eat. I gave up meat 2 years ago, this December, and everyone's like, "Oh, it must have been really hard for you." Not really. Why would it be? Well, I will say though, when I was younger, I remember thinking to myself, how can anybody be in a relationship with someone that's a vegetarian? It must be so hard and difficult being in a relationship with a vegetarian. The relationship wouldn't last if I was with someone that was like that, which now, you know what I mean? I'm living with a pescatarian. Um, and if we're not eating fish, we're eating plant-based food, we're eating ital food, we're eating vegetarian, vegan, so tofu, gluten, some people might call it Satan, lentils, chickpeas, hummus, organic pasta, brown rice. I make fritters that are lentil fritters, that are plantain fritters, or I make everything really. And so these are the things that, as to why I choose to stay. I know it sounds like, oh, what's this? Is healthy living. That's just wellness. Everyone does that. But not when it's connected to your ancestors, not when it's ancestral teaching. I'm learning more about me being a Black woman, me being Black, Jamaican, descendants from Africa, those type of things I would not have got in the UK. So that's what why I choose to stay here as well. I feel rooted, I feel grounded, I feel connected to the land, to nature. I never felt that way in the UK. I remember thinking to myself, if I was still in the UK, I'd feel older than what I am. When I went back in 2016 for 2 weeks, all right, yes, it was in the summer. It was in December and it was cold. Within a matter of days, I felt like my age, and it was not nice. And being here, eating differently, drinking differently, movements that I do, whether it's Pilates, yoga, which I don't do a lot of, but when I do, I feel so good and a lot of pain afterwards. Swimming, doing upper body hits, lower body hits, strength training. I would never think about doing that in the UK, and doing it here, it's easier. So yeah, that's what makes me choose to stay here. I've built a different rhythm here in Jamaica compared to the UK. Even though it can be hard, this different rhythm, this different lifestyle, this different way of living, which is now who I am, has benefited me much more greatly than if I decided to live out my life in England. Let me go to the chat. So Jess says, Nats, at 25 you were grown, so your parents didn't told yeah. Your parents didn't tell you were Jamaican, and they didn't take you for, no, they didn't, Jess. So my parents and my family would go to Jamaica for funerals, for weddings. I'd see pictures of the goat being killed for curry mutton and stuff like that. But my parents never said, until I was older, and that was until I was like being in a relationship with a Jamaican man. Did you know that we're not English, we're Jamaican, me and your dad. We were raised in a dual household. We were raised Jamaican. We just was never educated about it. And I don't know. I don't think. I'd like to think that my family weren't ashamed of being Jamaican, because I was still raised in a Jamaican household, from the food that we ate, the music that we listened to, the religion that we had, the discipline, okay, the language that was used. It's all Jamaican, like, patois and all those. I remember, all those things. It's just that I would say, like, the nation and race that I think does very good at talking about their history, their culture, their identity, is the Jewish nation. Wherever they go, wherever they are in the world, they know about their cultural identity, their ethnicity, their history, as being from Israel, speaking Hebrew, raised in a Jewish culture, all of those things, Jewish schools, education. The only education that we had was Sunday school, and it was teaching us a Bible that was written by white people. It's not like or Saturday school about the Bible. It's not like at Saturday school we were taught about Jamaican history, our culture, African culture, the 7 national heroes of Jamaica. I learned that when I moved to Jamaica, and I created a YouTube video on the national heroes of Jamaica. We didn't do that. Nothing like that. And I don't know why. I never asked them why either. But yet we were raised Jamaican. Better believe it. Yeah, I remember the beatings. Yeah, I remember do you want me to give you something to cry for? I didn't give you nothing to cry for, but I can give you something to cry for. I remember, raised Seventh-day Adventist, sunset. I remember harvest time at church, conventions, wearing, you got to wear hats and long trousers, not even you couldn't wear trousers, you had to wear long skirts, dresses, all of that cultural identity piece, that not wearing short sleeves. I know all about that. I know about Jamaican cuisine, how to cook Jamaican. It took me a little while. It was actually my ex-boyfriend that was Jamaican that really taught me how. All of that stuff. That's why it was so easy to transition in Jamaica, eating food, understand a little bit of patois, and yeah, they just didn't. Did I speak to my parents about it, Jess? Well, my dad died when I was 23. My mum, no, I don't really remember. I suppose when I got to the stage where I was at age, being in a relationship with a Jamaican man, the first time I was in a relationship with a Jamaican man who was in the UK, then traveling to Jamaica at 25, the conversation started to come a bit more out about being Jamaican. But I don't remember being 8 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, and saying to myself, and saying out loud, as well as thinking it, my parents are Jamaican. I don't remember that at all. I don't know about the Jamaican history, our nation's history, none of that. I don't even know the Jamaican, I can say the British anthem word for word, not the Jamaican anthem. How the hell can I not know that? Even if it wasn't taught in the schools in the UK, why was my parents doing that? I never went to Jamaica like once a year, or I'd go for 6 weeks or anything like that. I never did that. No, they didn't take us there. So, no. All right, so let's move on to sometimes where I still question living in Jamaica. So like now, you've got Hurricane Melissa coming, and the weather in Europe isn't great either. Like, in England, you have your seasons, but do we have hurricanes? Do they have hurricanes? No, but they have really bad storms. I do remember in 1980, they had a storm where Seven Oaks became One Oak. But like having hurricane alerts and things like that really wasn't in the UK when I was there. And so, that unpredictability about weather can be concerning, can make me question sometimes, because I don't even know about the infrastructure. Jamaica claims that we're ready for the storms each year. We've got things in place, go here, go there. We've got shelters, we've got this and that. But then when you see videos on social media of places in Kingston, which is where I live, Barbican, Chelsea Avenue, places in Ocho Rios, Main Street, where, in Halfway Tree, which was called Halfway Pond on a TikTok video, and you just see the flooding and things. It's kind of like, well, I thought the government was ready for this, or is ready for this, and always has been ready for this. And it does make you question if I should be still here. Um, you know, if I talk about when I talked earlier on about the process for my citizenship, it did go smoothly, but there were things that didn't go smoothly. Me talking to Picker to ask if I still can travel on the letter of certification and being told yes, and I leave the country not knowing that the moment I left that country, I could potentially be deported because I never had a passport that's Jamaican and I only had my British passport, which shows that I overstayed. Those things make me question why I'm living here or why I decided to come here. It, it's my life, it's my livelihood, and it can wear you down, and it did at some point sometimes wear me down. The admin in Jamaica, the long lines in the bank, the really rubbish customer service, the people in Jamaica that are just really can be quite bad mind towards you, that are judgmental, especially with my British accent. And once they don't like you, that's it. They just don't like you. And you know, in Jamaica, business is based on relationships. It's not really based on what you know, even though they will say you need a PhD, a master's, and a degree. But the next minute, your friend is being hired, your family member is being hired. There's a lot of nepotism and cronyism here, which is across the whole entire world. But with Jamaica being so small, it's closer to you. There's colorism here as well, which is so bad. Like, I've got dark skin, and I know that people look at me very differently. But the moment that I open my mouth and they hear the British accent, they look at me very differently as well. And in a way of they're more likely to want to listen to me or have a conversation with me than someone that doesn't have a foreign accent. But if I'm not speaking and they always sees my complexion, they just I'm dark. I'm darker. And dark is connected with not nobility or superiority. The lighter you are, the more smarter you are, or whatever. And if you have a foreign accent, that means you're smart. And I'm like, I ain't that smart. I think I know some stuff, but the fact that my accent is going to get me through doors, I hate that. But that's the system, and that's what I work with. Just as much as I hate the system of my complexion being seen as dark, they just think that I don't have any sense. I hate that as well. And it does make me wonder if it's worth it sometimes. But then when I think about my life in the UK and the way that I was living in the UK, wearing wigs and weave and, having to be less authentic about my personality, having to be a bit more quieter, not have that high energy in the corporate world. When I think about in the UK with British people, they are racist. They just won't tell you that they are. In the US, they're racist and they'll tell you to your face that you're racist. In Britain, they won't do that. Now, let's be right. There's a lot. I'm talking about my life. 13 years ago, I've lived here. So we're talking about first, the years prior to that. I'm not talking about current now, and the life that I was living and going through in England. Even though I might question Jamaica, there's no doubt in my mind that living here is better for me. Emotionally, mentally, and physically, it's better here. Uh, you know, and with the hurricane coming, it's all's happening right now is just rain. Just looks very overcast, right? That's it. It's cloudy. This looks like a day in England in October or November. So even after all that and what I've shared, this was a bit more different, this topic about my life in Jamaica. I hope that it helps people that might be thinking to themselves, oh, Natalie, we do some wonderful stuff about Jamaica. It's not always wonderful, but neither is England. And to me, it's the lesser of two evils. At least here it's warmer. And I get to eat some beautiful food. I get to be around and experience some great life stories, the Kingston Night Market and seeing Sizzler. And just some of the journeys and some of the experiences that I've had in Jamaica are so memorable and so worthwhile that I wouldn't have had those in England. have more access to who I am here. I'm able to be more comfortable in my skin here, and I love it. So what pulls me back every time coming to, every time I feel like I want to be like, bah, it's around what I've just said, what I love, having access to things here, being who I am and unapologetic for it. It's the life is better here. Life is more simple here. Moving here over the last 15 years, I've had my career has been amazing. It's been great for my mental health. It's been great for my personal life. I started 2 call centers in Kingston, IBEX and VXI. I was head of HR director for those 2 companies. I would never have been able to do that in England, in the UK. I hired 750 people in 4 months for IBEX. I have led teams that, HR, recruiting, training. I never thought I'd be able to do that. The transferable skills that I learned from the UK. Working in the call center operations, I never thought I would do. Starting my own business and running my own business, I never thought that I would do in HR and L&D consultancy work. My mental health, like, I was super depressed. I was a functioning depressed. I was functionally depressed in the UK, meaning that I was depressed and I was just still functioning and living or not living. And my mental health is so much better here, cutting off toxic relationships and friendships, both family as well as not family, putting myself first. I could only have done that and accomplished that living in Jamaica. My lifestyle would never have changed if I was still in the UK. I've blocked a lot of people on social media and I am loving it, because Jah is the one that's going to provide and guide me in my life, not these people. Moving from being dependent to being interdependent has been the best thing that I've been able to do. Meeting Mala, I would never have met him if I was still in the UK. This person, out of all the relationship that I've had, is the one that I deserve. Or how I am treated. You know how every woman wants to be treated that way, loved that way, respected that way, cherished that way. He does it. And staying in England, obviously I wouldn't have met him, but also I would have stayed in those toxic, dysfunctional relationships and never realized. And we both don't have children as well, which is just so cool. Like, it really just is, because there's no distraction. It's just us. It's just us. And our legacy, for me, my legacy is not children. My legacy is me and how I live my life and the life that I create for myself. And now my legacy is me and Mala, our partnership, our union for the rest of our lives. Having children doesn't define me as a woman. It may define other women by having children to procreate, and that's fine. And yes, I am Mama Africa. Of course I am. But there are many other women that are Mama Africa as well that can have children. All right. So that's it, everybody. That's a little bit more about my life in Jamaica. Why I still choose to be in Jamaica, even when sometimes it can be really hard. And that this is the right decision for me, not for everybody else. Now, if you want to know a bit more, like I said, I have a playlist and I'm going to link it below. It just talks about, it's just like a guide to living in Jamaica. And if you're relocating to Jamaica, I have more stories like this about why I moved to Jamaica, safety tips in Jamaica, where you might want to go and visit or eat, how I found my place in Jamaica, my experiences of purchasing a car and why I didn't choose to have a car first of all. Just I would say that they're personal stories that can give you more insight in my life, but also it's a journey of my life in things that I've already done and experienced that I hope that connects with you and helps you in your journey, whether it's living in Jamaica, whether it's moving to Jamaica, or just living in a different country. I've lived in other countries as well. I lived in France for 2 years. I spent 6 weeks in Greece for work. Just all of these experiences have shaped who I am and who I've become today. So before I say goodbye, I'm going to check the chat just to see what comments there might be there. Oh, big up, Jess. Jess, you're just so awesome. I've got people watching, but Jess, you are one of the main persons that are dropping messages in the chat. And I really, really thank you for that. And big up those that are just listening and internalizing and taking everything in. You could be, in the living room, just working. You could be in the kitchen doing something. And I hope that, what I'm saying, as you're doing whatever you're doing is helpful, educational, inspiring, insightful. And if you're watching the replay, let me know that you're there. I hope that you have found this as well extremely helpful. To me, I do enjoy talking like this because it puts I get to think about my 13 years living here, but not just my 13 years living here, but my life as well before I moved here. I enjoy reflecting and internalizing on my life and where I am now at 45 years old. So this is as much educational and insightful for you as it is, I hope, as it is for me. So let me just check the chat, Jess. So Jess asked me, what did you thought about all that culture you had in the home? Did you thought of it like why? No, I never thought of it, but like why? I never questioned it. I just lived. I didn't have that critical thinking back in the day, not at 9 years old, at 12 or 13 years old. And we also moved from my family, my parents and my siblings. We moved from Camberwell, which was Little Jamaica, Camberwell, Brixton, Southeast London, to the suburbs, right? A home county, Kent. And 38 years ago, there weren't no black people there. I was one of two black girls in secondary school, which had about 1,000 girls. So it's like I moved further away from any cultural type of identity, or at least understanding more about my cultural identity by being around people like me, right? And so we moved to the Medway towns, which is Chatham, Gillingham, Rochester. I lived in Strood. It's not far from Gravesend. It's 45 minutes from Dover. It's Margate, Ramsgate, Whitstable, all those type of areas. And if you know those areas, that we would call that in London a country, with the fields and the sheeps and the cows and stuff. Probably why I love Jamaica so much, and the hills and the mountains, because I grew up like that. In my back, at the back of our garden was a forest where you could go and camp and shit and stuff, So people often, family and friends in London, referred to me and my siblings as coconuts, black on the outside, white on the inside, because we had a weird twangy accent as well, and we moved further away from our cultural identity. Even the church that we went to was bare white people. And so this is not to cast aspersions on people that are white. I'm just saying that we weren't growing up around people where we could understand our identity and our culture and being black. That's what I'm saying. And not living in Jamaica and living in England, and then living in London, Southeast London, where it's diverse, and then moving to the countryside. I just moved further and further away from my cultural identity. So I never questioned it. It wasn't until I met a Jamaican man and got into a relationship with a Jamaican man where he was taking me to dances and to parties and being around Jamaican people and going to hairdressers and barbershops and, you know, him cooking Jamaican food and me, you know, all that lifestyle and exposure. That is when I began to question what the hell's going on and why do I have a connection to this, an affinity to this? Why do I know these things, this food that's being cooked, or this music that's being played, or going to this church and it seems similar, coming to Jamaica and seeing these similarities? That's when I started to question and start to do critical thinking, and that's when my journey began. If I never was in a relationship with a Jamaican man, if I never left Kent and come to London, I would have married a white man. That's just the truth. Okay. Thanks, Jess. Jess says, this is real talk, great conversations. Those things are true, Natalie, by Jess. It's really bad that there were those things. A lot of stereotypes, correct. You're welcome, Jess. I'm glad it was a wonderful session. Donna says, I'm batch juicing in case electricity goes. That's a great idea. I purposely put off juicing. My juice ran out yesterday, but Mala made beetroot and carrot juice. So I was drinking that because I knew I was going to be juicing this morning. So I had that I had that as a backup yesterday. So I've got this juice now, and then Mala's got one big old juice jug in the fridge, so I can have that as a backup. I've got somebody called at SIBI8SW. So honest, thank you. You're very, very welcome. I'm glad it was honest. I don't mind being vulnerable, even though I'm on a live. It's just me by myself. So it's like I'm talking to myself, looking at myself in the camera, talking to myself. I think when I go back and I start editing this, I'll probably be like, Natalie, you can chat. But then I'll be like, damn, that's kind of vulnerable still. That's kind of raw. But I hope I want to be authentic about this journey, from the UK to Jamaica, being a British expatriate, being part of the diaspora, not knowing that I was different, but yet living differently at home. Is it therapeutic, me talking like this? It is now, as I get to a stage of being 45. And when I was at Kingston Market earlier this week, I met some people like myself, part of the diaspora, moved back to Jamaica, but they're much older than me, and they were older than me when they left. And I left the UK at 32 years old, and so I'm part of this WhatsApp group. You do need to be part of diaspora, a returnee resident, or born and raised in the UK, parents are Jamaican, but now living in Jamaica. It's a place where people, like I said, I did feel quite disconnected when I first moved here. And so people are moving back and they feel the same. They feel lonely. They feel disconnected. So this WhatsApp group was designed and created for that. And so some of the persons all got together at Kingston Night Market, and I was talking to them about me moving here at 32 years old. And one lady, her name is Maureen, she said, do you realize that you have a story to tell, Natalie? You have an insightful, powerful story to tell of your life, because you moved here when you were 32. That was 13 years ago. And I never thought that. I just thought it was just me just living my life, just doing stuff. And so now that I'm making videos like this, as well as my other videos, because I do have, I am a trainer, I'm a facilitator. I teach life skills, professional skills, transformational skills. I work with corporate clients as well. And so I do have topics and content on life skills. I'm going to drop the playlist in there. Let me write a note. Playlist. of some of the training that I do. I do masterclasses on a Monday, and I start back on Monday actually. The first masterclass topic is around how to get better at being productive and managing your time much better, right? So that the day doesn't control you, you control the day. And so I do those type of topics as well. But I also on this channel, I do talk about my personal stories in my life living in Jamaica, moving from the UK to Jamaica, and it most definitely is therapeutic for me. When I talk to people about my journey, they do say, "Now, this is a powerful story, and you need to talk more about this." And I don't know who to talk to it about, or I never thought I needed to talk to about anybody about it. And until I started doing, and then I thought, you know what, on my lives, let me answer some questions that people might be wondering about, and let me share my story and my life. So, oh, well, go on, Melissa. Yes, girl. About tell me, can I send you the link? You're brighty. I'm if I tell you that I'm about to go live and you're asking me to send you the link to the live. I don't have a team yet to do that. I am the team. I am the moderator. So there was no way. I went to change my top, check my message quickly, and I saw your message, and I was like, how am I supposed to send you the link now? Probably should have asked me off before the live started. But glad that you're here. Blessed love. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. If you liked this live, be sure to like it. Share the live as well. If you're watching the replay, bless up for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. My aim is to go live once a month on a Saturday, and give me some time, and all the things that I may have mentioned, whether it's videos, playlist, ebooks over my website, I'm going to go and put all of these links in the description. I'll also maybe add a few more links that I think might help. Just give me a little time though, because 2 hours is quite a bit for me. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful, insightful, inspiring. And remember to learn, love, and live. Stay blessed. Bye.